Hey YouTube, Sam here. Well, I'm here in my mess of a garage trying to put this up, and I am failing miserably. I am going to show you a few of my failed attempts just so you won't try it, because I tried it and it's not going to work. You can try all you want, and I'm sure I could make it work, but the time I've spent dealing with just the failed attempts, I could have went out and bought what I needed fairly cheap and spent less time. So that's kind of my lesson in this, is that sometimes trying to save money, you end up spending way more time, and although I may have the time, I don't really agree with the time is money theory, unless you get paid a whole lot of more money per hour than I ever have. So I think by the time I pay somebody else to do something, my time is well worth it, even if it takes me twice as long or more. That's my theory. But anyways, so I'll show you some of those failed things, and I'll show you how I'm going to remedy it and how you should probably do it. More organized than me will save you money. Now, this is what I was trying to use. I got a bunch of these at a garage sale. I paid $5 for a huge, not just a box full of these, but a box full of boxes of these. So I have a ton of these, some shorter, some longer ones. And this is what I was trying to use. Well, it's just not working for me. So then I dug through my crap, because I really hate going. I have buckets full of old screws, nuts, bolts, everything. I just need to get more organized. And I found these, but unfortunately the screw doesn't go all the way to the top. And by the time I screw this all the way in, you'll actually only have a couple of threads, if I'm lucky, holding into the wall. The rest will be sticking out into the wall. So what I've settled on is these right here. And I believe these are actually for like metal siding. Actually, to screw metal siding into the side of houses. They kind of they had like a rubber gasket right here, which I have taken off, and I'm just using regular washers. And that's what I'm going to use. They have a bolt head, so I can use a socket or a wrench on them. Now, in the perfect world, these would be a little bit shorter and a little bit fatter, at least the size of these. But yet again, this is not a permanent thing, so I would go with something a little fatter and a little bit shorter than these, but I do think these will actually work. We shall see. It's becoming a complete trial and error video. I'm telling you right now, probably I'm just doing it now just to try and get it done and see if I can do it. But I would go out and buy a smaller version of that right there, these leg screws. Leg bolts, leg screws, whatever you want to call them, but they actually go into wood. But you know, you only need one. You can only use one that's maybe that long right there, maybe a little longer. You need to choose for yourself how you mount these things. If you do what I do, something gets broke, something falls off, something flings across your garage, I don't care. I'm not responsible. So if you don't like the way I'm doing it, don't do it. Anyhow, go buy some of these. Right now this has just become a fight between me and what I got, and hopefully it'll be somewhat of an entertaining video. The problem I'm having is that I've tried to mount this a couple times, and I can't get bolts in here very easy at all while holding this up and trying to get it in. Somehow get some sort of a shorter bolt in here and use like a ratchet to ratchet it in, but I want a little bit longer of a bolt than what that allows. Plus, I was a little leery about pulling this apart, because you have things that are, you know, like a lack of a better word, like a pull cord on a lawnmower, springs that'll fly back, and I don't want to have that problem. But I've kind of looked at this, and it appears that this should come off without any incident. We shall see. It's just got some 13mm bolts. There's 4 of them, and one here, and turn. So be careful. Okay, and this does want to kind of let loose on me, so boy, this is going to be more of a pain in the butt than I thought. I may be going and buying some sort of hardware to mount this easier. You know what? I just got a brilliant idea. That's why this is how I figure things out. I make a whole bunch of mistakes until I get it right. A lot of times. Usually, I can figure things out fairly quickly, but this one, admittedly, has kind of thrown me for a little bit of a loop for how I want to mount it. Sometimes you just have to mount it the way it was intended to be mounted. I'm going to try one more idea. Hopefully it works. The screws I'm using have Phillips heads instead of a bolt head on top. So I'm going to think about this and figure it all out. I really should just go out and buy some lag bolts. We're getting ready to mount this up there on that, and I noticed for some reason the slotted holes there are actually on the top, which in theory you should be able to put a couple screws in there, set it down on those slotted holes, tighten it up, and then put a couple down on the bottom holes down here, because the picture shows it hanging this direction. Well, if you look at the picture here, slotted holes are on the bottom and the round holes are on the top. Kind of the way I assumed it should be. But also, the inlet is on this side. And if I put it that way, my compressor is over here. And I'm going to put it here. And that would make it so that the inlet was on this side instead of this side. So I'm just going to go ahead for right now. Like I said, this isn't a permanent situation. I'm going to flip it upside down, which will make it easier to mount with the slotted holes there. And it puts the inlet on the side that I want it on. This is going to be on the other side of the shop when I get my shop more cleaned up the way I want it. So, like I said, temporary position, so we're going to go ahead with it. But just so you know, you may need to try and figure out how to flip this plate around, or just go with it the way it is, which is kind of the way I'm going to do it. When I go to redo it next time on the other side of the shop, I might see if I can flip this plate over. But just want something to be aware of. That's Harbor Freight. You always have something you got to do to make it right. But now that I've kind of looked at it, there is no way to flip this around. I mean, there is if I was to flip this around, but that would bring the bracket sticking up this way. And the bracket needs to be like this. So instead of making these holes up here, they put them on the bottom. If you really cared which way this was mounted, you could cut these right here, which would give you slots like this, which I may do in the future. We shall see. But right now I am going to mount this the direction it's made, the direction that this mount will work for now. And here's one of those things, a little tip and trick here. I have a stud here and a stud here and nothing in between, and I want it mounted right here. So I just found it's actually like an old door off of a cupboard is what it is, but it's plywood. It's strong old plywood. So I went ahead and just stuck that up there. I've drilled the holes where I need them. This is where I tried to mount it last time, so I came a little lower and drilled the holes there, and then I got it screwed in the stud here, screwed in the stud here, so I got a good solid mount. And what I'm going to do is go ahead and, because of the grooves, I don't know, I'll show you those if I don't end up with them in this video sooner, and screw these into here first, and then I'll be able to set the air tank on there and hopefully tighten those down, and be able to get these up in here when all said and done. But I'll show you that in a minute. Alright, now I put these in here, and I've actually decided I'm going to go ahead and kind of screw these into these upper holes up here just to give it an easier thread, so that when I go to thread these in, it's already kind of pre-threaded. Going all the way, that way I'll have a few extras that I'll have to dig in, but that should hopefully, in theory, a lot of my things are in theory, make it a little easier when all said and done. And I'm getting all my tools and screws where I can reach them once I get this up here. Alright, well, let's try this one more time here, hopefully the last time. Make sure you're able to get the washers are out here. Take this, start it by hand. And woo. Actually, that actually made it a little bit easier here, letting it come forward a little bit. Alright, I'm going to go ahead and stick the other one in here before I get too much further forward. My elbow is probably in your way. Start that one, and hopefully, oh, the wrench is not fitting there. That's what I was afraid of. If I can get this a few more threads in, I might be able to get it. So you're going to want to do these a little bit at a time. I'm going to go ahead and back this one off a little bit. I'm still holding up most of the stuff here. Might be easier if you had just a wrench, but I think I will be able to make this work. This makes it a little bit easier. Still holding it up, just with my fat gut here. And just go back and forth between the two of these until we're all the way in here. A couple of things here. Put these bottom ones in as far as you can, but still be able to get this on before you get it all the way down. Now, on this back one back here, I think no matter what you do, you're going to wind up with a wrench. Now, this is where these ratcheting wrenches come in really handy. I don't use these very often, but this is one of those places where it's just awesome. And if you guys want like tool reviews and things I use, leave a comment. I really would like to know if that's something you're interested in. I'm probably going to do a few of those kind of things, but depending on these comments will kind of depend on how much I do. Alright. That is on there good. So, a couple things. Don't try anything else but to get yourself some leg bolts and a small ratchet or wrench, ratcheting wrench, even better, because you can, that's loosened. You can get on these things, and this is where they shine, you know. And the other thing, I do think these are a little bit small, but I think it should be perfectly fine in here. This isn't really, I mean, you're pulling on it, but it's not holding a ton of weight back. The other thing, I would go ahead and I just set it on the counter on the back part here and pulled the hose out. I would just do that. It gives you a lot more room. Not to mention when you're lifting it up and down, not having the weight of that hose makes it a bit easier too. So it does just kind of get it out of your way for the most part. So, and for all you wondering about, oh no, the heat's gonna blow up your hose because it's gonna get so hot right there, I don't use that anymore. I got a bigger setup now. Alright, we're gonna do a little bit of a testing here. I already pulled it back in. And it does hold itself. Now if you go, you gotta listen for the click. If you go past the click, it's just gonna roll back. So you gotta listen to the click for it to stop. Okay, and then you should be able to pull on it and it should come back. And it does come with a stop the hose from going in. The other thing, according to the way it seems like you're supposed to mount it, and most of the way I see it mounted, this is supposed to be upside down. Wait, that's how dirty my shop is. Holy cow, I got it clean. Anyway, this is supposed to be flipped up here so that it actually goes that way. But a couple things. My air compressor is over that way, so I'll be able to run a short line and run it in here. This is where you hook up your air compressor hose going from your air compressor to here, or whatever line is going from your air compressor to here. That's where you hook that. The other thing, like I said on the picture, I don't know, I'll put it in there somewhere. It was on some of my failed part of doing this. But these grooves right here where you just kind of set it on top of there so you can hold it to get these ones in, this should be up here. On the picture it actually shows the groove up here so that you can set it down. So this was made incorrectly. I also talked about a way you can fix that. So anyhow, so far I'm pretty happy with it. I am still yet to use it. I just wanted to get it mounted so I could start using it and see how I liked it. So I wouldn't still call this a review or anything like that. It's more of just a mounting video, and that's about it. It was kind of a pain, and once I figured out just do what I knew I should have done in the first place, it went real quick. It was actually very easy. Well, this is Sam, Jack of all, and yet again, obviously, master of none. Y'all have a good one.